I got I had mine was all wrapped around my chair.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the April 19th, 2016 meeting of the Town of Manchester Planning and Zoning Commission. First order of business on the agenda is the approval of the January 19th minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the January 19, 2016 minutes as submitted.
Okay, motion on the floor, second.
I'd second that.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Thank you. Reports. Michelle, you want to start off with the town?
Yes, we had the pre-submittal meeting with Walnut Street, the potential doctor's office at the corner of Walnut Street. Are we talking about this?
I think so.
Briefly.
Yes, I have not heard back from them. I know that they've been out there on the site, did a little investigating, and I've talked to the neighbors because they need to connect with their sewer, comes out of there, so, but I have not heard back from them at all. Steve's not here, so I assume you'll get your council report from Councilperson Wilder. And, the town hall has moved along. I don't know if you've been up there to see it, but.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, how are we as far as schedule on that? Are they pretty much?
I think we went 2 weeks over, so now we're talking like the end of July,
Okay,
beginning of August.
Snow put us back a little bit, but otherwise,
yeah.
doing well.
Good. Okay.
Okay, and the only other thing I really needed from you is, because we have to reschedule the comprehensive plan meeting, they'd like to do it any Wednesday. Is Wednesdays work for anybody here?
Wednesday's a bad day for me.
Okay. Is a Monday better?
Yeah, Monday's better for me.
So before we leave here tonight, can we try to come up with a Monday?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll put that in my notes. Okay. Councilman Wilder, you want to add anything for the council?
Yeah, we had a regular council meeting on the 12th, where we just discussed regular business, nothing unusual. It's budget season, so we're having a lot of budget sessions, trying to get through that. We did have a closed session to discuss legal matters with Dawn Nee. We'd be happy to present that same summary to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Nothing I can really discuss here as far as details, but she left with a message saying that we need strong support for both communities. They are holding a Board of Education forum this evening in Manchester Valley, so that's where Steve is this evening. I was torn between the two, but I wanted to attend this to get through some of these details. And other than that, everything is going smooth.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Moser, already. See that 5 minutes into the meeting and we're right to you already.
Okay. Make this even quicker than I originally planned.
Uh-oh.
Oh, we got a lot of paper.
What's in your handout?
Can't believe it's that time of year again. The annual report for the
Oh, yeah.
preceding full calendar year. So this is the draft 2015 annual report. I was going to kind of go through the pages. I'm just going to really summarize this very briefly. This is something we do every year. It is required by state law that local planning commissions submit an annual report. And the way we do it in Carroll County and have for probably 40-plus years is instead of each of the municipalities in the county sending in individual annual reports, that would be 9 for Carroll County, we consolidate it all into a single report. Just makes it easier, faster, less complicated, and so forth. I think in the case of Manchester, Michelle, I think you are the one that probably gets the information to Scott Graff in my office. He puts this all together. So what I'm going to request that you do is look over this report, and basically it's a compilation of development activity, planning-related activity. I mean, some jurisdictions have, like, for example, amended their comp plans. Carroll County adopted the Carroll County Master Plan in February of last year. It documents residential activity, subdivision site plans, non-residential activity like commercial or industrial development plans. So what I'm going to request you do is to look over this document with particular attention to the information pertaining to Manchester. You are more than welcome to read the entire document if you so choose. But I want to be sure that the information that we are reporting, excuse me, that we are reporting for Manchester is accurate. Want to be sure we're not missing anything. If there's additional information that needs to be put in there, we need to know. So if you could look this over, and if you do have any changes, corrections, additions, if you could get them to Michelle, and then if Michelle could get any such changes to me by Tuesday, May 3rd. That's 2 weeks prior to May's meeting, because I will be coming back in May, and any changes that you did request, that will give Scott time to get them in the appropriate locations within the report, and I'll bring those modified pages back at the May meeting. Be sure you're okay with them, and then I will ask if you could approve the Manchester portion of the annual report. Any questions on anything at this point? And I'll be happy to go through it. I was going to indicate some of the information that does cover Manchester, but that's up to you. I thought maybe,
So just to be sure on dates, you want this back to Michelle by the 3rd of May, and then you'll come back on the 17th of May
it's your regular,
for
Meeting in
approval
May.
of our section.
exactly.
Gotcha.
And Michelle, I will be sending you that template letter and a copy of the letter that's in the 2014 annual report. Because usually what happens is at the May meeting, the letter will be prepared on town letterhead. And, if you all do approve the document, then we're looking for a signed letter to take back. And we take all of the approval letters and put them in the document. It's like the last pages, so that it indicates to the state that this is the annual report for all 8 municipalities and Carroll County.
Very
Anything
good.
else? All righty.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4, sign approval, Premier Dental.
Okay, this is, we have done this in stages with Premier Dental. First of all was the screening on the window, and we counted that as, our code says that you're allowed so much in square footage of signage. Then we went to the standalone sign out front, digital sign. And now they've come back and requested additional signage on the walls, painting, which specifically says in our code that you have to approve paintings. So I have given you their drawings. I gave you the one that they've had asked that they would like to go with. And then I did see that we have some representation from there, so I didn't know if you wanted to speak to it or not. Did you want to address the commission?
If there's any questions, it's
Could-
option 3.
Could I just ask you to come up to the mic, please? Sure.
Michelle, did you give us?
Did you give
I
us-
didn't give you all the options, well, I was just gonna tell her, I didn't give all the options because, I asked you today when you sent it in, to just give me what you wanted to
Okay.
go with.
So that was the option 3.
Yes.
It should just have Premier Dental Care on the side of the building with some swooshes. Do you have those? If not, I can show you
No,
what we're,
Have this one?
Okay.
You had
yeah.
them in an email today.
Yeah, I saw them in the email, but I didn't print mine out, so.
Well, you said I give you too many papers.
Here, I can give you this one I brought along and you can look at it. The only difference is it wouldn't have the phone number underneath. It would just be the .net, so it would be our website. So as you're coming into Manchester, you would see that.
You would have not the phone number, but your website.
Correct, so you
URL.
would just see premierdental.net. It wouldn't be the 410, right? The phone number would not be there.
No, they would add that instead. Michelle, did you calculate the square footage of how all this would relate
I,
relative to
I'm
the order?
assuming that's 12-inch block.
Yeah,
So
look
it's,
here, you've got this. Yeah, that was the first one we did.
right.
This is the square footage of that one, and then I have the sign, that's not the sign. And then I have the sign. You put down.
Count it up, but
that's pretty big.
Like you said,
Just
it
count
looks
the
like
block.
12-inch block. Can you see the
Block.
blocks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's 1, 2, 3.
well, technically, the whole painting on the side of the
7,
wall is gonna be part of it. If we're-
Yeah,
And
you're
the section of the
talking
code
about-
states that the total area for all your signs cannot exceed the total square footage of 4 times the length of the front of the building. The front wall.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry to make you just stand there while we're looking at
It's perfectly fine.
pictures.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, I have no objection to the swoosh per se. I'm a little concerned with writing up on the wall, kind of getting this billboard effect on the side of the wall, considering that they have that standalone sign that's very hard to miss as you're coming in and out of town. So, I mean,
I'm kind of leaning the
That's a-
same
yeah.
way. That's my, my comments would be we've got the advertising on the front and then the swoosh in the windows and then.
and the sign in the window.
sign
right.
up front. I think the painting part,
Yeah, I have no objection to it. I actually think it looks kind of cool. I think it'll spice up the side of the building. It'll look nice.
That's gonna be, when you look at that with 12-inch block, it's gonna be a pretty big sign.
Yeah.
That piece
premier
pretty
looks-
much almost 3-4 feet.
I mean, I
Fine.
can get you all the specifics as far as, exactly what the measurements are gonna be.
Yeah, because if we're figuring it's 12-inch block on the side of the building, most of your letters and your numbers, and even if you replace that with your URL, you're looking at a foot per line, and that the P in Premier is pretty large, so you're talking,
That's like,
I'm gonna go roughly say a 6 foot,
that's what I'm thinking.
about a 6 feet high. And you
Right.
come over that hill, I mean, I know I got glasses on, but I'll be able to see it without them.
Well, no one seems to be opposed to a swoosh, but it sounds
Right.
like by square footage, is that beyond our authority to begin with?
I think, now this is just our own interpretation, but I think when you're talking about just painting the side of your building,
Yeah,
it's not really a sign.
not a sign per se, yeah.
It's where we talked in the code about painting on the walls, like murals or things. We have the drugstore that has one of those things they break drugs up in. I forget what it's called. Paint on the side. That's not really a sign to advertise their business. It's more of a decor in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, that's how I see it.
Okay.
I guess the question is, are you willing to accept the swoosh without the lettering?
I think we would accept the swoosh without the lettering, but should I get the measurements for you before you make a final decision on that?
Yeah.
So you can
That's fine with
actually,
that. I mean,
I
there's
think that's-
nothing wrong with
No, I
that.
think that's fair. That'll give us a better way to gauge it.
right, so you'll know exactly what the
Yeah.
size would be.
yeah. And then maybe if you do some creative math or playing with the math to see if you shrunk that down or whatever, would you still be inside the 4 times the frontage limit,
Okay,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, give us the dimensions and then we can take a closer look at that.
okay,
Find help with that.
perfect.
Okay.
All right, so would we come back for the next meeting, or would someone just reply by email and let us know?
How should we do that, Michelle?
Probably get the total square footage of the sign and how it would look on the side with dimensions.
To
Send it to
Michelle.
Michelle, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll get back to you, back to
You
the
might
next
not
meeting.
have to come back depending on
Perfect.
how we.
Perfect.
Right.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
Sure,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My eyes might be worse than Alex's, I guess, because I'm still looking for the website.
No, they
No,
said
it's
they'd
not on there.
replace the
Replace
phone
it with
number.
the
They would replace
Right.
it.
Yeah,
with
I
sorry.
thought I heard remove the phone number, keep the
Yeah,
website.
Oh, okay.
Replace it with, okay.
Dale better get his eyes checked. He's looking for a website.
I was looking for a website.
Sorry, Dale, didn't mean that.
Oh, I don't know.
I think you need these more than me.
Everybody else sees it.
You want a copy of that, Al?
What's that? No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, this all goes to this. Okay.
All right. Okay. Item 5 on concept S16 0001 number 1 North Liquors. A representative from that group?
Good evening, Dan Staley with DRS and Associates. If I could, I'd like to pass out a new site plan. They're half-scale, a little bit easier to handle.
Okay.
And what we've added to them that you don't have in your set of plans are the architectural elevations, which might be helpful for you tonight.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is easy to read.
Thank you.
So, where you want me to begin? Yeah, we've gotten, not all the county comments, but we've gotten most of them. Two I just got tonight, like 15 minutes ago, which is great. And I guess if I could, maybe we'll start out with the easy stuff first, but if we could turn to the very last page of the site plan, which are the elevations. The owner's work with our architect. I guess the lower, the upper left corner is of course Main Street elevation. And because of the length of the building, we put a break in the building, offset it by a foot, to try to make it look like more like two buildings. Materials we're talking about using, of course, you see when the lower part of the building is brick, that's kind of a necessity because the doors are on the north end of the building, and we're controlled by the street grade to set the finished floor elevation. As we come south, the grade actually rises, so the finished floor is below street grade on the south end of the building, so we need some sort of masonry to protect ourselves from water. And then above the brick, we're thinking either hardy board, or there's another product that I really happen to like called Select, and it's a composite siding, looks like hardy board. You choose your color, it's guaranteed for 25 years not to fade. It gets applied kind of like vinyl siding, but it's not vinyl siding. It's a really good product. And then there's a band board between the first floor and second floor to kind of break it up on the north side. And then, of course, we've got a little short roof there on the south side. And then, of course, the north building, we got windows with crowns above the windows. And the south side of the building, we've got the shutters to try to, again, break it up, make it look more like two buildings, fit into the streetscape, make it a little bit more, feel more like a little bit like residential rather than commercial. And then, of course, in the back of the building, it's much the same with the doors. The doors on the street side and the parking lot side are opposite one another to make the inside of the building function to the owner's desires. And then the second floor is going to be 3 residential units. They're slightly less than 1,000 square foot a unit, 2 bedrooms, and a single bath. And the access to those would be on the, we call it the end elevation, which is really the south end of the building. And there's like a portico there that would enter into a central stairway. You go on up, and then the 3 units are off that central stairway. So that's kind of the building. Again, it's, and colors, no one's zeroed in on colors yet, but we are aware of right next door is a mustard-colored building, and then 2 doors down, there's a olive-colored building, of course, with different trim on it. So again, we're going to try to keep something in line with those colors, something that would maybe accent those buildings. Trying to get away from the grays and the tans and the whites. It's just, it seems like we've seen enough of that. I like color, so that's what we're trying to promote here. So with that said, I'm going to start with the comments. And the easier ones, the easier ones are stormwater. We've done the infiltration test. They have asked us to provide them with soils work, which we've done. They have it. They haven't responded back yet, but we did have good soils on site, so there's not a problem as far as the stormwater management structure. We're collecting water on site, and we're gonna go subsurface into an infiltration trench. And then the second comment there suggests we do a trench drain at the back of the parking spaces along Wood Alley. We haven't looked at that in detail yet, but I think it's too low to get it into the trench because the trench drain would actually surcharge out before the infiltration trench actually fills. So we'll work that detail out with them, but again, it's nothing that we can't accomplish. Then from Bureau of Resource Management, Water Management, we got an approval. Floodplains, we got an approval. Of course, there's nothing on site there that they're involved with. Tim Hare, grading sediment control, he said our plan meets the grading ordinance. Brian Van Vossen from EOC, of course, the building will be sprinkled because of the multi-family unit and then the business. And then he's asked us to show a location for the fire department connection. Again, we'll work with him and get that on the plan when we come back for approval. And then I guess the next one is from engineering, and the last one is state highways. And they both kind of go side by side or parallel one another. There seems to be concern about we set up a right turn lane coming into Wood Alley, and that was done in an effort to get what I call the beer truck. The one that's going to supply the store, the biggest vehicle that's got to bring product into the store, that we can get them in and get them out. I do have, so they all ask for turning maneuvers. And they asked for turning maneuvers, and we had this when we designed the site, so I'm going to just pass these out. The turning maneuvers are in red, and what it shows is that you can actually turn, if you're coming northbound on Main Street and making a right turn in, the truck can get in. You go back to Wood Alley and Long Lane, again, they can make that right turn maneuver to get behind the store. And and then, of course, they'll pull down Long Lane and back into the loading area. And then when they come back out, of course, they can go left or right. So that was I guess the effort in that right turn lane off of Main Street was to make those maneuvers. Now, State Highway says that's not typical for Main Street. They'd rather have a full function T intersection, which I'm surprised by that comment because I can't imagine that anyone's going to want left, like southbound traffic, making a left turn on Wood Lane during any peak peak traffic hour, whether it's in the AM or PM. And the same thing coming out of Wood Alley, making a left turn going southbound on Main Street.
So their alternatives, really, I mean, it's an interesting comment. You say that because they have one of two options. If they want to do that, they either got to come in through the Sheetz parking lot or they got to come back down the alley to do it. So,
the way I look at the options are, again, and this is something that the owners will have to train their delivery people, but if they came in, whether they're coming northbound or southbound, if they would go to Sheetz and turn in there and come back down Long Lane and just avoid Wood Alley altogether, possibly Wood Alley could stay the way it is right now. It's one way from Main Street into Long Lane, is the way it functions right now. So I guess, you know, we did a sketch plan early on that was passed, I think, to you folks. And this was, we had 3 different versions of a layout, and this was the one that everyone seemed like they liked. We liked it for a number of reasons. There was one that had parking in front of the store and the store set back, like you see a lot in commercial areas, maybe along 30 up here, you know, or you got south of town. You know, we like the building pulled up to the street, keep the streetscape, make it look like, not so much like a commercial building, and keep the parking deliveries in the rear. So I guess for me to get to my ends, I'm gonna need a decision, I guess, out of this body, which, you know, whether we'd use the right turn lane, and what we had envisioned was, when we did that, was right in, right out, no left-hand maneuvers. So if you're coming northbound on 30, you turn right into Wood Lane. If you come out of Wood Lane, you can go right and go northbound again, but you can't turn left southbound from Main Street into Wood Lane, and you can't come out of Wood Lane and go southbound onto Main Street. That, of course, that would take signage and some things like that to stop that kind of behavior. But, you know, so if someone came in from the, you know, going northbound and turned into Wood Alley, went to the store, then their options are is either go to Long Lane and either back out to York Street or back up to Sheets to get back out on 30. That's what the alternative would be there. So, and both the state highway and the county engineering comments are all kind of geared towards, state highway saying they prefer not to have that right turn lane. They're not saying we can't, they're just saying that'd be their preference. So once that decision's made, whether we have it or whether we don't, then I can work on all the other details that both those agencies want to get to our ends.
They want the pole moved.
Well, again, that would go with whether you have the right turn lane or not. State highway's saying that with the right turn, if we do the right turn lane, they think the pole is an obstacle there that people are gonna end up hitting.
Oh, they'll hit it.
Well,
Trust me.
Yeah, I don't necessarily
I
disagree.
brought some, you know, things that, you know,
While you're looking for that, I think, if I remember, some of the original comments when we looked at the concept drawing was we would consider moving forward, but you had to make Wood Lane a 2-way road and move the pole. If I'm recalling, if my memory recollection is of any count, I think that's what the body ended up
the
with.
plan does, Wood Alley is a two-way street on our plan. But our plan. when
Right, it's just a right in, right out.
Exactly. And here's a photograph, downtown Westminster, same exact. I've only got 3 of them here, but it's, you know, it's a right turn lane into John Street. It's off of Main Street into John Street. You know, it's got a traffic, that's not a pole, but it's a, you know, pedestrian light in the island there, same situation. And of course, that's state highway design and construction there, so if it works there, I don't know why it can't work in Wood Alley.
No, that's a little bit different. I would beg to say a car hitting that is a little different than hitting in a wooden pole.
That's a pretty big intersection on Main Street that you're talking about, comparing it to. That's actually a straight and a right-hand turn lane coming, which, if I'm thinking, that would be west,
Well, it's
no.
only a single lane going northbound, which would be northbound on Main,
Right,
and then that right turn lane in on John Street. There's not two lanes, there's not a right turn lane and a through lane, there's just one lane, because they got parking along Main Street there.
No, I was just making reference to scale. A
No,
utility
it
pole is
is.
significantly more immovable than that.
Than a pedestrian light pole.
Yeah.
Dan, I think if I'm thinking of the right intersection, that's signalized, right, at John?
Yeah, John is
Yeah.
signalized, yes.
And if
that-
you're on,
two
let's see, the south side of Main Street, you can go straight.
And it's
There's a straight.
signal.
You're in the
If
south,
if you're heading west on Main Street, you're right, there's like a designated right turn
lane,
lane. But at the signalized intersection, if you're heading in the opposite direction on Main, you can make a left onto John.
yes, that's a full
It's a full, I mean, you can
movement
make
intersection.
right
You can go
turns
left,
and
right, whatever. The only point I was trying to make is that they've got that right turn lane, when you're going, I guess we'll call it westbound,
West on Main
on Main Street, you can turn, there's a right turn lane that goes in on John Street.
Yes.
that functions much like what we're showing here at Wood Alley. Now, it's got the pole in the alley, it's got the same situation with the handicap getting across, the right turn lane, then across the other two lanes coming off of John Street. And that's pretty busy street, and again, so I need some direction. What's your pleasure? Because
I'm gonna give you
once
some-
we get over
I'm gonna
that
give you
issue, the
some-
rest of it for me is just details.
I'm gonna give you some comments, but they're very personal to me. I'm the one in town that probably uses Wood Alley the absolute most. My office is the insurance office 2 doors down from here.
Okay.
So I'm on Wood Alley 4 to 6 times a day. And if you're gonna stop me from turning south, I'm voting all of this no. When I'm coming south, I can't, in any of your plans, I can't turn in Wood Alley. So I have to go all the way down to the stoplight, make a left at the liquor store, come up to town hall, and come back up.
I'm not quite following. Start again there. If you,
There's no way to get to Long Lane if you're stopping all southbound turns from going into Wood Alley. In other words, it's gonna be a one-way,
well,
there's
our
gonna be
plan,
no way to turn in
well,
going
our plan
southbound.
doesn't do that. You could turn,
You can't turn from southbound 30 into your.
No,
You
not
could.
in any of your.
you could.
No, you have a right in, right out, couldn't do it.
Well, that's what we're suggesting.
Right.
We're suggesting
Under
that's
your
what. it
plan,
ought-
we couldn't do
Yeah.
that.
That's what we're suggesting it ought to be, is right in and right out. Because.
Now,
just
the other
because of
thing
peak
you've
hour-
thrown in that weren't on the original diagrams is none of this parking was on Wood Alley. That's all new. So you've got a beer truck and two cars trying to turn in to Wood Alley. You got two handicap, or you got no, there's no handicap there, so you got a truck car trying to back out of Wood Alley to go this way. There's the handicap in there. So traffic's now slammed up on 30, backed up to this car. I don't know if we can say no to that, but my vote's gonna be to have no parking there on Wood Alley. I don't know if that changes everything, but it's blind. I mean, on paper, this looks fine, but there's a lot of trees. This garage on the neighboring property completely blindsides that four-way stop. It's a problem now, and it can't go away because there's a garage, so that's okay. But all this other housing and shrubbery, it's going to block every view, so people are going to turn in and not be able to see any of this. So all of this parking here, where did that come from? That wasn't on any other
Well, that was
concept.
probably the last, again,
More
we had
revision.
3 versions, and it was
Okay.
the building at Main Street, building on the back lot, parking in front of
Right.
Main Street. Then
I
the
think it
building-
was here, and I think you had all your
well,
parking
then-
in here.
And then the building was turned perpendicular with parking, you
Oh.
had to come in this way to get to the parking out here, but it was
Right.
okay at parking here.
Okay.
And then the very last thing, adding these parkings here was the very last thing that we had done. And that
Okay.
it was suggested to us, so that's why we did it. Now, again, if that's.
I mean, I don't know if that's just my own opinion. I don't see how that's gonna help anything. I did like all the, parking tucked in here, and he's still got some spots out front,
Right,
which are
right.
cool. But that sweep lane's gonna take away a couple of your
Take
spots.
a parking spot away out front.
So is there any plans that you have where Wood Alley is a full 2-lane road with that utility pole moved? Or is it not financially, you can't afford to do
Only
it?
with the turn lane. Because what happened, we didn't want to fool that, if you go out and look at that pole, I'm not sure where all.
It's massive. It's massive. It's almost 3
I'm sure it's got
feet
BG&E,
in diameter.
Verizon,
Right.
Comcast, fiber optic, and I tell you, I had a place that I built myself in Westminster, and had
Right.
to move a pole. I got lucky on it, but I was told the cost of it was $100,000.
Right.
Because what happens is BG&E comes in, and they plant the new pole, they transfer their equipment over. Then Verizon comes in, and then they transfer their equipment over, and BG&E, I think, had to pay Verizon to move their equipment because it wasn't their problem. And then Comcast comes in, and then the fiber optic comes in, so this all was done in an effort to try to not to fool with that pole.
And I'm no expert on utilities, and there's people here that have a lot more expertise, but I have a funny feeling because of the distance of the poles that you're gonna have to plant two. I don't
Well, there
know
again, you
that,
start-
because you're gonna have to move that pole so far south or so
You
far
start moving those
north.
poles, and again, they can't change the alignment of it, and it just.
Right, I
it-
think they're-
It's more complicated than what you might think.
Yeah, I think the distance would be too long for a single pole. I think you'd have to move
Put
one
one
and
on the
add
other side of
one.
the alley.
Uh-huh.
Is there any chance that we just leave Wood Alley like it is and leave it one way in? And we teach the beer driver to come in off of Sheets to get into Long Lane and come into the back of the store? And it'd be the same thing with customers. They'd be turning in a Long Lane to get to the back of the store, and then either going to York Street or back up to Sheets.
So you say keep Wood Alley
Just
keep
keep
it like
keep it one
just
way.
only
Just-
one
just
way.
one
One way
way
in,
in.
You can turn left in and right in, but
As
that's
far
it.
as turning maneuvers for a pickup truck or a car, it works, you know, that works. It's only when you want to try to get that beer truck off of Main Street in Wood Alley that it doesn't work.
Yeah, because I'm not sure the beer truck can make the turn here by Main Street.
Coming in
You can't, he
Going to
can't
York
get
Street.
out. I mean, his only option is Sheets.
Sheets, I would
Yeah.
think, I would think that would be his best option. I mean, I think if he can turn in York Street and turn in the alley behind, I'm not oriented here, but the alley over here, turn into Long Lane. Depending what the traffic is in York Street, I think he could make that, because that's a pretty wide entrance, but again, the best route would be to come from the Sheets store.
What's the weight restriction, Steve?
I think I'm thinking in my mind 10,000 pounds.
Yep.
In dark, I can't see
For
the sign.
Long Lane.
Long lane, correct. No vehicles in excess of 10,000.
Yeah, I don't even think the truck can go back there. Yeah, I don't know where'd the truck come from. Won't he have to load and unload from the street?
Well, that's what they do now, but again,
right now, yeah.
Yeah.
but it was kind of at the pre-construction, or the pre-application, it was kind of like, we'd like to get that truck off of Main Street. That's what the effort was
Might
made
be an
to
issue.
get him into the back of the
Long
store.
Lane can't handle the weight.
When the truck delivers on Main Street, they don't even pull off the road on the right side. They pull off facing, they're going southbound and pull off on the east side, right? Going the wrong way. And then they pull all the way up to the intersection, and it makes it very dangerous coming out of that intersection, you can't see.
Oh, you can fix that with, Chief can fix that.
That's what I was gonna suggest.
4 or 5 tickets later, we can fix that. Yeah.
So you think there's a 10,000 weight restriction on Long Lane?
I think it is. I think that's what the sign says.
What does a truck that size weigh about?
35.
Depends on what stage of delivery you're in.
I mean, 26 is the short
there's
box
Carroll
truck,
residents,
and they're
it's
the
a lot
bigger,
more.
That's right.
they're the bigger A truck. So I'm guessing 32 to 35,000. Loaded, I mean, if he's unloaded, he's still over 10 probably loaded, unloaded.
Yeah.
So without a variance, none of this is an option anyway. Right?
Well, the code, when we talk about weight restricted streets, like even our residential neighborhoods are weight restricted, however, you are, an occasional delivery or things like that are allowed. I don't consider this an occasional delivery, it's gonna be,
No, it'd be regular delivery,
yes, and
yeah.
Plus then that adds to your trash pickup issue, which you have your dumpsters in the back.
The back of the store, right.
Well, he comes down there anyhow.
yeah.
He,
Right.
Hughes,
community
that's
trash
where
pickup.
all of ours is too. That's 1 day a week.
What's occasional delivery mean?
Like, you're getting furniture delivered. You're getting, something. A moving truck, yeah, they're
Yeah.
pretty much,
Just wondering how we define it.
can't remember.
Like an oil truck or something like that.
Occasional, that's pretty
Fuel
subjective to
delivery.
say occasional. I just been wondering how much detail we get into.
Maybe we say residential
How many deliveries a week is normal?
For the beer, I said 3. Yes. But like say like a 3 and the 3 different days, so like, I don't know, if we plan to get it in the wheelhouse, but if we put in the front, again, this one, number 1 north, is like too narrow space, but over there, I think we have the long lane, so maybe we can park over there in the front. If that's the option, then, I have to drain the drive on that instead of like, docking area on the back. For the beer, I have to do it from the front, if that's the option, then,
Problem with this design, parking in the front delivery means hand carting things. A lot of
that's-
hand carting around the building.
Well, that's the way, even the delivery, their normal delivery is gonna be coming into the loading space and going to this door with hand cart to get into the
Yeah.
store. Because
They're gonna have to do that anyways.
Between finished floor and the outside grade, we couldn't get a door. There is a door there, but it's got a ramp to it, so, of course, this is coolers here. But they were quite satisfied that bringing it here, and that's their storage room right here, so they wanna come in that door.
We
So if
park
you're-
here.
If you're parked here, they just, come in and go, I don't know if that would be that big of a difference. That's the part of the plan that I guess it needs to be decided, how we're going to get off of Main Street and into that parking lot. And once that's done, I think for me, everything else is just, working out the details with the different agencies. And now if I can maybe break this train of thought for a little bit, but if you go to the landscape plan, the other things that I like about the plan is our landscaping is on the building. I keep using European buildings as my model. For people, they landscape on the building, get the vine stuff growing up over the building. We've got that on the front and the sides. And then also, if you look at the dumpster area, that's all a masonry wall that'll enclose the dumpsters, no gates, because what I see is, you have a dumpster area, it's a magnet for trash. And you put gates on it, they work for a while, and then they don't work. Then they're hanging open, they're falling down, they're just, you see what's inside, and it just seems like it just doesn't work for very long. So what we did is had an enclosure there, they're gonna have dumpsters on wheels, where they're gonna have to roll the dumpster out to put it, pick it up in the truck and dump it. And then the idea is that we would get greenery on those masonry walls to make it not look like a dumpster area.
But you have no landscaping around the heat pumps or the refrigeration units along that property boundary. The only reason I'm concerned is the house at 39 is looking, if they've got side windows, and I think they do, they'd be looking right out at 4 heat pumps and 2 refrigeration units off the
Well,
side.
it's not on the plan, but what we
Really
had thought
noisy.
about is enclosing that area with a fence.
Okay.
And then along the sidewalk, you make fence panels that you could unhook and remove, so you can get into, if you have to replace a heat pump.
Right, for
or one of the
service.
compressors, if we would set them off, sent the fence off the building, when you walk in behind them to service them. If you had to replace them, or you take a panel out between 2 posts, take it off its post, set it off the side, pull the heat pump out, put the new one in, put the panels back on. We'll cut down the noise, cut down on the visual effect of it. You don't want to see them from Main Street, and then, if you look here, that end of the building is where you got the 3 tenants going in and out. We don't want them to have to
Right.
look at that. And again, that, we've talked about it, we just didn't put it in the plan because it's one of those details we thought we could do at time of construction. Because if I put it in the plan and describe it, what I just described to you, then I gotta put details, how this panel gets hooked on, hooked off, and, all that kind of stuff. And we were under time crunch trying to get this plan into the county, make the deadline. We just didn't have that time for that level of detail.
Get rid of the burning bush, find something else.
You don't like burning bushes?
Overused, and it's on the state list of invasive plants. We don't-
Really?
Yes, we don't need to be planting it.
We don't-
Spreads in the woodlands, let's dump the burning bush.
Huh, they were one of my, that was me, so.
Yeah, well, this is me.
Say they're
gone.
they're on the list of invasive.
They're on the state's list of invasive species. When you do forest conservation work, they're listed specifically as an invasive plant.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You want them as the latest.
Okay. So we'll take it.
I've only been doing it for 30 years, so I do know
Right,
that. So
we'll take it to
let's,
heart.
there are a lot of other fine, low-growing shrubs that we can put in there that would
Yeah, we
serve the
wanted
purpose.
something that, again, have some color to it. You could
Right.
keep it trimmed into a hedgerow or
Right.
into a hedge. And,
They have thorns.
No,
no,
not
they're
burning
not
bush.
thorns.
I had a red bush, I thought it was called a burning bush.
No,
It had thorns.
that's Japanese barberry. That's Berberis thunbergii. we don't want that either. So,
Well, if one of our concerns was just eliminated because we can no longer take a delivery truck down that way, that changes the route.
yeah,
Now we can
Mr.
keep-
Staley's looking for some guidance from us on whether we just leave Wood Alley the way it is.
Well, oops, sorry about that. Is that yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think the pole issue is the deciding factor. I think we should make that T intersection.
Right.
So if we make it two-way, then the pole would have to go. If we agree to allow it to just be
One way, fully
one-way in,
I still have a lot of concerns about the amount of traffic going in and out of that small area.
Even if it was right
The-
in, left in only?
A two-way road T intersection
would mean the pole
makes the
would have to move.
project not financially feasible.
That I don't know. I mean, again, I've had some experience with a pole of that caliber, and again, I was told that it was $100,000. I know that BG&E wrote Verizon a $50,000 check to get to move their equipment off the pole. Now, what it cost BG&E to move it, and then Comcast, and then the fiber optic, I don't know that.
Now, thankfully, we don't have fiber optic yet, but not thankfully. I wish we did, but
So the options are T with two-way, island with one-way,
Right
left
in,
in and right in only.
Right in, right out only,
Or
Yeah.
right in, right,
Right
left
in, right out only.
Or right in, left in, and making it one-way. Or right in, right out only. There's three options.
Yeah, one is just leaving it the way it is and making a left coming south or a right going north. Option two is, we could say, is the design that Mr. Staley has here on the plan, right in, right out. And option three would be move the pole, make it two-way T intersection.
You know, also, with the current plan you're showing is your walkway, you're forcing your people to make that hopscotch across the right-hand turn lane, stand, wait, and then go again.
right.
I think it's a lot cleaner to make that just a straight across.
No, in his defense on that one, I've seen that median, where you
Sure.
you go across, you sit on an
Well, that's the
island.
Pennsylvania, or Main Street and John Street that I gave you
Right,
photographs
exactly,
of.
yeah,
And
that's not an uncommon occurrence.
No,
But I understand your concerns about
Right.
it.
well, they made two comments just in reference to that on them 4 pages. They were talking about staging or the pedestrians crossing and that type of thing.
Yeah,
And really, the distance with the right turn lane in, the distance from where the building side of that curb line to the island, and the island to the other side of the alley is really not that much further if you just make it two-way. Because you're talking about a 24-foot curb to curb, and we've got, I think, a 15 going in, and then there's only 14 feet, because the north side of that island is the curb line that's there now. And from the north side of that island to the north curb on the north side of Wood Alley is only 14 feet. So you're 14 plus 15, you're 29 feet versus 24 feet. So the distance someone's got to cross is not that much greater, and they get a break if they need to.
We're talking about keeping this sidewalk in as opposed to making this jump and this jump. The T, it's just a simple across. I think that's a lot cleaner one.
well, I guess they're gonna maybe need to investigate how much that moving that pole is gonna entail. Because obviously, that would be the cleanest intersection to be a straight T there, but I'm also cognizant of the fact that if it's gonna cost $100,000 to move the pole, we're gonna have to potentially figure out another option. But I agree with you, Alex. I think leaving it just as is probably gonna be problematic, just because of the amount of traffic coming in.
Right.
Because the current store does a pretty healthy business. We have a thirsty town, it seems like.
We're hoping it's successful. That's why we're trying to figure this out. That's the goal.
Well, I would say investigate what it's gonna take to make that the T intersection as recommended.
That's where I sit.
Yeah, we'd all like to know what that is.
Yeah.
And address some of these other comments from the different agencies that you just got a hold of. But
Oh,
that-
there, I read through it real quickly here, but I'm not sure that I have a problem with it.
So West State Highway, they had quite a few, I was trying to absorb
Yeah.
those today. and they were-
The state highway, a lot of those are just, that's just, to me, it's just detail work, I've got to work. I mean, again, the big thing is the geometry of the intersection.
Yeah.
Once we can get that nailed down, everything else is kind of academic for me.
Dan, did we have, I remember the very beginning when we had several different options and things. Did you ever have one, I know we did one where it was set back from the road a little, but maybe there's a reason why they're set back like that other places, that maybe a truck could pull in and go around the building and come back out.
We had a sketch that had the building back, the parking lot in the front of the building.
But there wasn't enough, there's not enough room to actually make a lane that would go around it? to allow-
Around the building? I don't think so. Not with the turning maneuvers of a beer truck.
No,
You'd
and we
never-
wouldn't want
you'd
parking
never-
in front of that building at all.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
I agree with you that, that would just ruin the streetscape.
Yep,
It just, I
that's-
think the layout with the building up next to the street and the building that they've designed here, I think it ought to look good on Main Street.
Yeah, it's the intersection, that's the issue, the main issue.
I like it up front.
I was thinking the same.
I actually did thank Bobby for her comments tonight under her miscellaneous comments, 2 and 3. I happen to agree with those, so it's,
Bobby, I did have a question for you. You noted that the building had been cataloged by MHT.
You're referring to the Maryland Inventory
Yeah.
of Historic Places?
Right.
Yes.
So what,
And I make note of that simply to, as a kind of an FYI, that the fact is that this is a principal resource, as they refer to it, within the Manchester Historic District, which is, it has a car number, CAR.
yeah, I saw that. What,
638.
what level of review does the county give that if they come in for their raising permit to take that building down?
I'm not sure that it's a factor, to be honest with you.
Okay, because I do know when we're processing permits through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and Department of the Environment, if we get an MHT hit like that, they run us through a number of different processes before they allow us to remove it, because they do it under, like, Section 106 review comes into play. And I was just curious.
That's my understanding as well. Now, keep in mind that it's referred to as the Manchester Historic District, but it is not the kind of.
It's not the historic
That is a zoning.
Exactly, right,
If
Yeah, we
that
don't
were the
have
case, there'd be a
architecture.
whole
right.
additional.
If it was like
layer.
Caves Valley, for example, the Caves Valley Historic District, that is a recognized actual
Probably
his,
in the local zoning code.
yes, and it shows up.
And that's a whole different ballgame.
Right, and I do know that since they don't need any federal permits, that does lessen the review on those historic structures, because if a federal permit was involved, then it gets a little more complicated. But I was just curious, because I saw your comment there, and I just wanted to make sure it wasn't gonna present an issue
Not that I'm aware.
to the developer as far as going in and requesting a raising permit on it.
I don't,
Okay,
my understanding is it's not going to be an issue.
because I wouldn't want him going down the path of getting all these plans together, and then somebody says, you need to document why this building needs to come down, and have to spend a lot of money on a historian to come out and do a full documentation of the building. So, okay, thank you.
So why don't you go ahead and get this intersection looked at and come back with some other concepts, and we'll continue on from there. That'll give us also some more time to digest what we have in front of us.
What information are you looking for, other than us drawing it up as a full-function T intersection?
Yeah, get us some costs,
Yeah.
just so we can see what's involved.
See
Okay.
see if BGE will put a number on it. See if they'll put a number to, what it would take to move that pole.
Okay. Anything else I need to mind other than that?
You made some comments, it's kind of about the parking.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Something
study the
concerning
parking again. If we make it, if it ends up being a full road, I'm still wondering if there's any way to do the parking without it being on the alley. Because you're pulling in and out straight into traffic. I'm not sure I've ever seen that.
No, I've seen that.
Have you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, go to any one of your beach towns, and they've got parking angled in, and you gotta back out to get out of the spots.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I
that's
mean,
not too
they,
bad.
they get traffic, but my personal opinion is, I don't think the traffic is that significant that we can't have a back out spots there.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, it's not like.
It's not a
It's
freeway
not a
there.
through road or anything.
it's not a freeway.
It's just an alley. I got you.
So
All right.
I don't,
I'm okay
I
with
don't
that.
think that's a problem. It's just the intersection
Mm-hmm.
is a major problem. But as far as the stuff with the building and all, I don't, at what I've seen so far, there's nothing that really,
Well, it should be a nice looking building.
Doesn't raise
I think
any
they- I think
major
they
red
went the extra
flags.
Step there and come in with a good design, and again, the materials they're talking about using there are just, you know, it's,
Yeah.
it should look as good or better than any building along that part of Main Street.
Oh, yeah.
Generally, I like what you've done, it's just that intersection is causing us all a little bit of heartburn. But otherwise, I
Well,
really
again, I
like what
mean,
you've done.
it is what it is. I mean, it was an existing condition, it's there. You know, the funny thing is, there's two poles there. One, a pole that's out of service, and then, I don't know how long that pole's been there, but I'm guessing it wasn't there too long, because there's two poles right side of one another. The one that's out of service got the top of it cut off, so they must have just put this pole in sometime in the not too distant past here. But, and then again, I don't know if there's any conflict with other utilities, if you would start moving that pole location up and down the street, you get into, there's gas out there, and of course, our water connection comes in off of Wood Alley. So, all right, well, again, we'll try to get some information from BG&E, and if I get that before the next meeting, is that something I can pass on to Michelle and pass
Sure,
out to you?
yes.
folks?
Yeah.
Because again, just to give you an idea of their time schedule, they'd like to be open by Thanksgiving. They'd like to test the waters in Thanksgiving, be ready for the Christmas season, is their timetable. And to do that, we need to be breaking ground like July, first part of August. And I know the architect's she's working pretty diligently trying to get the architectural plans up and in the building, in the permits and inspection to go through that review. So I don't want to be the holdup for the project if that's all possible. All right, well, we'll get some cost figures and I guess show you some schematics or some graphics that shows that in a full intersection.
Okay.
Perfect.
Go from there.
Good, thank you.
Laurie, do we have anybody written?
I didn't have it right.
Anybody?
Okay.
You wanna-
Sir, ma'am, do either of you want to make a comment about?
No, we're fine.
You're fine?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Learning process.
Huh?
It's a learning process.
Very good.
That's good.
Residents who care, residents who care.
Glad to have you.
They attend all our council meetings, they care.
Good.
Okay.
Anything else?
Anything else for the good of the order, Michelle? Steve, I hope your meeting went well. Looked very nice.
I left a little early.
Okay.
It was a very good turnout. Very impressed.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay.
I make a motion that the
Very good.
meeting be adjourned.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.